Alright, I got some OC for you. Little preface though, I've lived in a former coal mining town for all of my life basically so far. The town is pretty big. It's a whole county actually, but only out of the town was the mining business big. Mostly in town, all you get is a military training camp, farming, and sports. County fair too, but whatever. So most of the old mine shafts that were started and ended shortly after they were made were mostly filled up, so no one could get in there. Geocaching got real popular a couple of years ago, and there were a bunch of these mine shafts that were locations for them. So people would go there, get the cache, leave something, and then leave. Not that big of an issue. It was always warm near the mine shafts, so snow would melt slowly near the fronts of them, making them great for year-round geocaching. Now we start the story. Me, 3 friends, and one of their GFs all get kinda drunk in the afternoon after our senior year. We'll call the friends A, B, C, and GF. So, GF is a big hiker and is very fit, loves to geocache. Her boyfriend C is into local history like a dork, so they seem fit for each other with geocaching. C wants to go to one of the bigger, more remote mine shafts just for shits and giggles. GF agrees. Me being the mother hen, which meant I was only slightly buzzed, drove them all out there. B was having fun with it, so he brought out a few of his hunting guns, which ranged from rifles to shotguns and a few pistols. I jokingly took a shotgun from him and said Evil Dead quotes the whole time. No one else takes a gun, and I am stupid enough to keep it in my hands as we go along. When we got there, it was kinda warm, which felt good since it was getting dark and colder. I would have said it was about 8 PM, and since it was June, it was just light out. GF and C say how there is a metal gate on the front of the mine, like one you would see on a storage room thing, and it looked new. C says this is not normal for mines, or at least he thinks so. GF suggests that they're finally putting another layer onto the front of the mine since people were getting into them. It had a star logo with a circle around it, like it was a cheesy government movie. B gets cocky and tries to jank up the metal door by its small handle. He in turn yelps in pain as he pulls his hand back. Apparently, the metal door was so hot it was hard to move your hand towards it. We all just assumed it was some kind of fumes from the cave heating up the door like a frying pan. I threw a large stick at the door, and it started burning up really quickly after it hit the metal door with a loud bang. The fire was blue, light blue, as if it was a giant pilot light, just coming off of a stick thrown at a hot as fuck door. We all thought it was fucking weird as hell, so we threw more sticks at it and got a small fire going of blue and greenish hues. C thought it might have been gas from the cave doing it, but he did not really care. As our fire was going, it was beginning to get dark, so we were going to head out and back home. Then we heard a loud, metallic creaking noise. It sounded like something out of a video game, with how it just sounded so strong, yet fizzled out so quickly. The metal gate fell off of its hinges and onto the ground, crushing the blue fire really quickly. We looked inside of the mine shaft that was there. GF, using her phone sort of as binoculars, which caused her to scream and get into the car. I looked in the mine among the blue fire and saw this. A blob of tannish grayed skin being illuminated by the fire, so it just seemed to be a bright blue. It was shiny like stone, but leathery in different areas. There were like 7 faces we could see if the bottom ones rubbed red from the movement. We slowly noticed it had actually been moving closer, so B decided to start shooting at it without even worrying about anything. We could hear the thing in there start coughing and hacking. It's breathing hard and strained, with some small bits of black liquid coming out of it from the looks of the lighting. I took up the job of shooting off my grand total of 2 shots in the gun, attempting to reload, but then giving up and jumping into the car with A, B, C, and GF. All of us get really jumpy during the ride home, but we all calm down and start thinking we're badasses. Eventually realized we most likely uncovered some weird-ass bullshit in the middle of the woods, like we were a group out of a horror movie. Try not to speak of it again. Everyone else moved or tried to move out of the town after. GF and C left together. A went to college, and B has pretty much given up on hunting and only shoots in the range. I tried looking the mine up long after this and literally only found it on an old map of the town from the late 1890s from some site that sells maps. Tried looking for it again, only to find that the site was taken down. Look up the public city hall records about mines. Find it on there. Save it. Later on it is removed, saying this document does not exist. Basically, I was in your standard group of friends find a creepy creature, and now there's no trace of it. Spooky Woods Creature Story. Okay, Nons. This is one of those things I've been talking about in various threads, and decided to make into its own post. My experience with a creature that can mimic voices. Be me. 16 at the time. Live in northwestern Ohio, on the Michigan border, right off the lake. Small rural town, with nothing more than a grocery store, a Taco Bell, and a gas station. One light town. Completely flat with a lake to the northwest, and a river valley that opens up into quite a few swimming holes in the woods. It is summer, and me and my buddies are chasing girls in the local swimming hole. Get into fight with Michigan guys who are at our swimming hole, chasing our girls. Grandpa breaks up the fight. He owns the land and was doing work nearby. Grandpa tells me I'm a man now and need a job, and to stop being childish. Tells me his Native American friend who owned the grocery store would hire me to do overnight stalking for $25 a night. This was the 90s, so fuck yeah, I'm down. Work a few nights there. Job is literally the easiest shit I ever did. Get to know this old Native American over the course of a few weeks. Old Native American is cool as fuck. Buys me beer and smokes. Tells me about the serpent that his people put to sleep under the lake. Cool dude. He finds out my grandpa and I hunt. Asks my grandpa if I can go trapping with him. We set out in his old, beat-up Ford truck. Southwest, further into the river valley. My family has land in the upper Scioto Valley. Arrive like an hour and a half later in another bumfuck town in some hick county. Much more wooded than where I live. Gather traps and bait and set along the deer trail. Trapping skunks and opossums. Groundhogs were acceptable too. Mainly wanted pelts, but if we got a groundhog, he promised to make a Native American stew. Hours pass, and we get everything set up and shoot a few doves in the process with my bolt-action 22 that was older than fucking Moses. Back at the farmhouse his family owns, we clean the doves and have a nice dinner. Tells me another Native American story about a hero of his people that poked a hole in the sky to bleed the bad spirits of the land, but was bit by the lake snake in the process. They are still bad spirits because of this stupid fucking snake. I don't believe any of it, but it was a cool story. Morning comes, and we set along the trail, both armed with our 22. Don't ruin the pelt. Clear a few traps. We managed to get a couple skunks and a raccoon. Let the raccoon go. As we round up the bend towards one of the last traps, we hear a deer screaming in agony. Any hunters here know what that sounds like. Coming from across the creek near the bend, we are following on the deer trail. I start to cross to help the deer. Old Native American stops me. His massive hand hurts when he pushes my chest. What? He gives me a strange look. You know the look I'm talking about. Anon, that's not a deer. What are you talking about? Anon, think about what you know about deer. This fucking guy, always talking in goddamn riddles. What about them? He sighs and gestures to the sun. Midday. Sun is high above the trees. Anon, think about it. Deer aren't out at this time alone. Whole time, this fucking deer is screaming in what can only be described as pure agony. Also, Anon, we are on a deer trail leading to the water. Why would it be on the other side of the water? Ah shit, you're right. He explains that it is a dark spirit who is angry with us and that it can mimic any sound. He suggests we give it a gift. Trying hard to ignore the horrible sound of dying deer, and we round up the last trap. Groundhog. Field dress the animals and get the pelts ready. He throws the skunk head and groundhog guts across the creek. Deer sound stops instantly. My face went. practically shit myself. Few years later, the guy is long dead. Grandpa is long dead. Now in my 20s. Still trapping in NW/WC Ohio along the Scioto River and into the Maumee Valley. Learned a lot about pelts and curing from the old Native American. Out with friends, clearing traps in woods near Dublin, Ohio. Had a deal with a farmer that he would pay us $20 a pelt and $50 for every coyote and pig we shot. Finishing up with a skunk in a trap, and my buddy goes, "Anon, do you hear that?" Listening intently. A fucking woman is yelling for help. Wait a second. Quick mental math. Something not right. Grab friend as he starts to walk across the creek to help her. This sounds crazy, but that's not a woman. We need to offer it a gift. Tell other friend to clear the last of the traps and do not cross the creek. Other friend, total dumbass, starts yelling for the woman to say where she is. "I'm over here, across the water. Help, my leg is stuck." Waiting for other friends to get the last trap. "Do we need to call 911? But he yells. "Over here, across the water. My leg is stuck," it yells back. Friend looks at me confused. "Are you okay?" "Over here, across the water. My leg is stuck." We are all tactically shitting ourselves, even though I am pretty sure I know what's happening. Friend rounds the corner with the last trap. Empty. We only got a few skunks and a possum. Quickly gut the possum and decapitate the skunk. This bitch is still yelling like a broken record. Strategically chuck the guts and head as hard as I can across the water. Screaming stops mid-sentence. Dead silence. We leave without any further hassle. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what the old Native American told me about these things. 1. They hate humans because a long time ago, shamans tricked them into specific places that they cannot leave. No idea what they do to us, but given the other X shit, they probably eat us. 2. They swore an oath to allow passage for all who pay tribute, hence the guts. 3. They cannot cross moving water. Probably old folklore bullshit, but all 3 times I've encountered one, they were always on the opposite side of a creek and always along the river valleys that feed from the lake. 4. They can mimic any fucking sound they hear, and will mimic you if you split up. 5. They cannot be killed except by a powerful medicine man under a full moon, but that passes off the nature spirits and brings bad luck to the family. I have an experience that is somewhat recent, just a couple of months ago actually, that I wanted to share because it was seriously chilling for me. I'm an avid runner, and I do my best to not let anything get in the way of my routine, and that includes the weather. On this particular evening, it was pretty cloudy, but I was well and determined to get my run in, even if it was going to rain a little. That was a pretty stupid decision on this night, because I did not check the forecast, so that little bit of rain ended up being a torrential downpour. I was running on my path, which was paved, but it was in a mostly undisturbed, wooded area. As I was making my way down the path, it started coming down in sheets. I tried to run through it as long as I could, but then it started hailing, and that was pretty much the end of it for me. I hopped off the path and into the tree line, using the trees as coverage as best as I could. I did not have my umbrella because, again, I was very ill-prepared. I figured that I would just be able to just stay there for a while and wait out the storm. It had to end eventually, right? If not, I would stay there until I hit my mental limits and then make a mad dash to the parking lot to get into my car. Well, the latter ended up happening. It wasn't letting up or slowing down at all, so I just took a deep breath and took off back toward the parking lot for a full sprint. I practically jumped in my car, soaking wet, breathing heavily, and my teeth chattering, just watching the rain smack the hell out of my windshield. I decided I would sit there for a little bit, again, trying to see if the storm would let up some, or if I was going to have to drive home in the pouring rain. It was definitely a bit of a downer, but I thought whatever. I would just enjoy the sound of the storm, and then get out of there when it slowed. I leaned back in my seat and tried to get comfortable. Every few seconds, a flash lit up the area, and yes, I know it's probably not a good idea to be in the car in the woods during a storm, but it honestly felt safer than being out in the rain. As I sat there for a few minutes, I was watching the tree line, and I thought I saw movement. At first, I assumed it was a deer or something, but I looked again, and saw that it was taller than a deer, and looked more like a person. My mind immediately went to, there is some poor sap out on the trail, still running through the rain, and then I thought, damn, they were more committed than I was. But the way they were moving looked odd. They weren't really going in one direction. They were seemingly walking aimlessly around the trees. I watched this person for several moments, just thinking, are they okay? Do they need help? Should I do something? After a couple more seconds, I decided to turn on my headlights to get a better look at whatever it was this person was doing, since it was getting later and was starting to get dark. I flicked my headlights on, and they illuminated the entire area in front of me, the trees, the path, and the figure. When they kicked on, the person turned to look in my direction, and it became immediately apparent that whatever the hell I was looking at was not a person. Or at least, it was not a normal person. It's hard to figure out how to state what I was looking at, other than it was a person, sort of. They were dressed, but they were not dressed for the weather. The person, whom I'm assuming was feminine, was wearing a white dress that looked older. Her skin was pale, and it looked a bit dirty. But it wasn't until I saw her face that things got really freaky, mostly because she did not have one. Whatever this was, it did not have a face. It was just flat, pale skin. I know it sounds weird, but I think the best and currently relevant way to describe it is just like the nurses in Silent Hill, but without the scar. It was just flat, no eyes, no nose, no mouth. This was the most terrifying thing I have ever seen in my entire life, not just because of what it was, but also the fact that whatever this was out in the storm, in the woods. I don't know if it was something paranormal or what, but it scared the living hell out of me. I immediately started my car and took off out of the parking lot and away from the park. I half expected that thing to be chasing my car like some kind of horror movie, but it wasn't, and I did not see it after I left. I have been back to that park numerous times, a couple of times at night even, to see if I could find this thing again, but I have yet to see anything like it, nor have I read any local posts about it. To the best of my knowledge, I am the only person to have seen this thing, and it was just the one time. If anyone has any ideas what this thing could have been, I'm open to thoughts, but as of right now, I have no clue. It was some kind of freaky thing in the woods, and I'm just going to pretend that it was a ghost or something, because thinking that there's something that is of this world that's out there in that form is way too much for me. Being 9 years old, attend Islamic elementary school. One day, the students have to stay overnight at school. You may call it camping, but we were sleeping inside our class. The class was on the second floor. 1 p.m. Everyone asleep except for me. Look at the windows. Saw many hands adhere to the windows from the outside. Freak out. Want to scream, but no voice came out. Want to run, but had nowhere to run because the class was locked by the teacher. Hide under blanket. About 20-ish minutes later, curiosity arises. I peek from my blanket at those windows. Saw apparitions. About 3 or 4 people pressing their rotten faces to the windows. Couldn't move or scream again. Paralyzed by what I saw. One of those things saw me. After that, all of those things stare at me. Grin. Fuck. 3 years after that midnight freak show. Still in the same school, but in my junior high school debut. Had the same overnight stay again. Around midnight, many of the students could not sleep, including I. Decided I had to walk around the school. Split into 4 groups. I accompanied by a dude and had a quest to explore the parking lot. Around 2 a.m. At parking lot, dim light, many huge, banyan-like trees. Saw a security guard standing before a tree. Dude shone a flashlight to him and called him. No response. I saw his foot did not touch the ground. Grabbed the dude and run like hell. Stopped at the school gate. Dude gets angry at me and calls me a pussy for something that was not real. Explain any fuss to him. He did not give a shit. After all the fuss, suddenly, he silenced. wanted to go back to class. Okay. Front of the class. 2 groups had been back from their exploration. Dude still remained silent, suddenly muttering like somebody else, wailing and scratching the floor. We guess he was possessed. A possession often happened in our school. Maybe it had something to do with the rumor about the school being that it was erected above a long-forgotten graveyard. We decided to run and look for the teacher. Left 3 guys to watch over him and to take him down if he ran away or went on a rampage. Meet the teacher, explain everything. Ran to the scene with the other teachers. At the scene, the dude goes rampage, throwing chairs at the 3 guys who were charged to watch over him in the classroom. All of the students awoke that time and stand covered in fear outside the class. Pin the dude down together with teachers, exorcised the thing out of him. After all that ruckus, we stay awake until dusk. After that incident, the school never had any overnight stay at school anymore. First time going without parents on Halloween. Go with a nice girl from my class. We go trick-or-treating for hours. The longest I've ever been out, since we did not have to worry about our parents getting tired. After a while, the suburban streets become empty, and all the other kids go home. People start to turn off their lights. Me and my friend keep walking around until only the orange streetlights are left. We decide to go to the playground because we are hyped up on candy and don't want the night to end. As we are playing on the playset, we see a 20-something-year-old man sitting on the bench. He does not seem interested in us, but he's not doing anything. This was before smartphones were commonplace, but he does not have a book or a kid with him or a costume. Just some dude in a windbreaker. My friend and I try to ignore him, but it becomes increasingly difficult to fool around on the playset with some guy just sitting there. My friend tells me a dirty joke. She swears. The guy chastises her, telling her that good little girls like us should not swear. My friend gets mad and tells him to fuck off. We decide to leave the playset. Friend asks me to walk her home. I don't want to because I'm a huge loser who scares easily, but I want to be polite, so I say okay. Her house is in the cul-de-sac near the playset. After dropping her off, I set off to go home. I have to walk back through the park, past my primary school, through the woods to the other side of the suburb, then around the block to my house. Go back to playset. Guy is still there. I walk past him. He follows me. Get weirded out, but try to keep my cool, trying not to turn around. Fuck, I turned around. He's still following me. Christ. Walk past school. He keeps following me. He is not running after me, and he's not moving quick enough to be obvious. Try to keep my cool. Getting closer to the forest. Think maybe I shouldn't, but I don't have anywhere else to go. If I walk back, he is right there. It's either the woods or into the backyard of some people I don't know. And if I go into their backyard, then what? Knock on their door? What if they don't let me in? Then he will know I'm onto him and that I don't have anywhere to escape to. Fuck. Decide to go through the woods. Enter the woods. He starts to call after me. Hey, little girl. Hey, where are you going? You forgot something. I didn't fucking forget anything, you creep. Hey, you left something at the playground. Ignore him. Where's your friend? Hey. Just keep ignoring him. He starts to run. Panic. I start to run frantically ahead. He gets off the trail behind me. Shit, where is he? I stay on the main path, but there are bushes and trees everywhere. He could have gone off on the side of the trail to the smoke pit and then be waiting for me to cross the bridge. Have asthma. Start hyperventilating. Where is he? He is not calling after me anymore. Getting close to the bridge. Can't see anything. The coniferous trees are too thick for moonlight to shine through, and the bush is too dense. Can't tell if he's waiting for me. Run across, feeling faint. Hey, there you are. Fuck, I knew it. Run, but it's getting hard to breathe, and I don't think I can make it. I can hear him. He's bigger than me, and his footsteps are heavy on the wooden bridge. Start to cry. Hey. Run out the suburbs, make it out. He's still behind me, gaining quick. See a house. It has Halloween decorations. They must be home. Start pounding on the door. Yell mom, even though this isn't my house. Mom, 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 Dad, Mommy. I see him across the road. He watches me. The door does not open. He starts to move forward. Fuck. Mom, please open up, Mom. He's getting closer. Door opens. My neighbor sees me. I scream, please help. She lets me in. I turn around. He's gone back into the forest. Yeah, that fucked me up. My neighbor dropped me off, and my parents called the cops, but they did not find him. Be me, 12 years old, with my friends after a sleepover. Decide to go for a journey in the woods by my house. About 9 a.m. We are just walking through the woods. I'm getting a little uneasy. What's the matter, Anon? I think we should go back. No way. We are just getting started. Give in to peer pressure. We find a lot of trash in this one area and a chair. Looks like some people were partying. No biggie. A few seconds later, we stumble upon what looks like a makeshift home. Now I'm getting creeped out. A bunch of trash and crap around the home/shack. Now I'm getting creeped out. My friends think it's cool. Gotta get some new fucking friends. We hang around it a bit, just kinda wondering what it is. We get bored with it and decide to walk away. Thank fucking God. All of a sudden, hear a loud roar. It is definitely a middle-aged man's voice. At this point, I'm fucking running faster than Usain Bolt. I have literally never been more afraid. As I'm running, I try to look back to see who is chasing us. I don't see anything. I just keep running my ass off. My friend loses his shoe. Run past him. After all, he wanted to keep exploring. Finally get to a clearing with a couple houses at the edge of the woods. My friends come out last. Claims he saw who was chasing us. It was an old guy with a large grey beard. Finally think we are safe. Hear another loud roar. Continue running to the end of the street. Finally get on the main street in town. Walk home. Eat waffles and tell everyone that we got chased by a cannibal hobo. I still don't know who that was who was chasing us or why he was chasing us, but it still creeps me the fuck out. This is in Haskell, NJ, if anybody was wondering. Be visiting friends in a coastal town. All walk up to the bar downtown, getting wasted and singing sea shanties. Friends decide to head back to the house. I stay behind for one last pint and to close out my tab. Really fucking drunk. Leave the bar, stumbling through a town I don't know very well. Finally find my buddy's house. Stumbling up the steps, loud as all hell. Living room light shut off. Knock on the door but nobody answers, so they are clearly dicking with me. Start pounding on the door. It flies open, and a man I've never seen before shoves a pistol in my face. Knock the pistol away, reach for the heavens, and drop the heaviest punch I can muster on the side of his head. He rips a shot off into the unknown. The struggle leads me into the house. I am screaming, "Where the fuck are my friends?" as he and I grapple and trade blows. He lost the pistol in the melee and just grappling for an eternity. Police show up. This isn't my friend's house. Sobered up considerably because of the struggle and adrenaline pump. Explain to the police who I am visiting and that I mistook this house for my friend's and got shot at upon knocking on the door. They arrest the homeowner. I did not forcefully enter the house. He broke the law. Had to go in for questioning anyway. Turns out, the guy is a hyper-aggressive dickhead who regularly threatens neighbors and their kids over petty things. Cops laugh about me rupturing his eardrum with the punch. Hangover starts kicking in halfway through. Base cops bring me a Rally's burger and fries. No charges against me. Released to friends. I am the home invader.